McCormick is the Republican nominee for a Senate seat in Pennsylvania. He was at the rally in the front row there. Sir, can you tell us how close you were to the president?
Yeah. Good evening, Lester. You know, I don't know, probably 20, 30 feet maybe. I was right to the right of President Trump in the first row there, and he came out and announced me and said, "Hey, why don't you come up on the stage?" And I started to get up and go on the stage, and then he said, "No, I'll have you come up later." And then within a minute or two, the shooting started. And, you know, there were, I don't know, 6 or 7 shots. And it was pretty clear right away it was a gun, and people dropped. And obviously the president went down, and the Secret Service was on top of him. And then he eventually stood up, and the Secret Service sort of had a phalanx around him, and you saw that you could see blood on him, and you saw the fists come out in both defiance and I think reassurance and strength. And at about the same time, I recognized that somebody behind me had been wounded in the bleachers behind me, and sadly, it looked like pretty severely wounded. And the people in the bleachers next to him were trying to stop the bleeding, but there was blood everywhere. And I'm not sure if that was the person who was in intensive care or the person who died, but it was clear that even though President Trump had, I guess, been nicked, that others were very, very seriously wounded. So
it's not lost on you.
It was a very frightening moment.
Not lost on you that had you accepted that invitation to go on stage, you too might have been on the line of fire. Yeah, no, it absolutely was, and it was obvious that there was an assassination attempt on the former president, and you know, a really scary moment. It was just like it was 15,000 people there, and this had only been my second Trump rally. But it was, you know, USA Today and lots of energy and lots of positive noise, and then all of a sudden just shattered with these rifle shots, and it was just sort of people were in disbelief. It was very chaotic and very confusing for quite some time. What were you hearing during all this? Our microphones were able to pick up a lot of it, but I'm curious from someone on the ground there as this is all happening. You heard the shots. Did the former president say anything at all? Not that I heard. Not that I heard. You know, it was all moving in such a fast pace, and you know, there was a young boy next to me, and his grandfather was a local sheriff, so the sheriff ran off to sort of deal with what was going on, and he was very frightened. So, you know, people were processing it. I didn't hear anything that the president said. What became clear is that somebody was really hurt. So people were calling for medics and, you know, getting emergency care in, and so it quickly went from the shooting to dealing with what had happened, but also with the uncertainty whether the shooting was done. And you know, at the time I thought it was possible there were 2 shooters, not just one, because it felt like the sounds were coming from multiple directions. And so, you know, in these moments like this, I had been an Army guy earlier in my life, and it's very hard to know exactly what's going on. So you have to kind of go slow so you don't misunderstand the situation. And that's what I tried to do, was just to process and, you know, keep my head down and try to help deal with some of the challenges that resulted in some of the injuries that resulted. Mr. McCormick, are you attending the RNC, the Republican National Convention, this coming week? I am, yes. Do you do that with some deal of trepidation after what you've experienced and what you saw? Well, I'm still processing, you know, what I saw, but you know, as a public, I'm hoping to be a public official here as a candidate. You know, one of the things you don't want your family to have to worry about is your safety. It's hard enough to be in political life. It's so nasty and difficult, but then to think that your life may be at risk is something that I hadn't thought much about, but my family's certainly thinking about tonight, and I think probably all families of people that are in the public eye are saying, boy, this is a lot to ask. So I think it's a moment that I hope we all step back. Political violence has no place in our country. It's not a party thing. It's absolutely un-American, and you know, hopefully a night like tonight will give us all pause and help dial down the temperature a little bit. Yeah, I think that probably is a bipartisan thought tonight. We've been hearing in reaction to all this. I think there is universal shock and disgust that this sort of thing would happen.
Thank you, Mr. McCormick, for talking to us. We really appreciate it.